Namaste. This Sanskrit word means that I bow to the divinity that's within you. Good. Now I have not come to lecture to you. For that we go to the universities where they teach you about things and not what a thing really is. For that we go listen to lectures. What we would like to rather do is have discourses. In other words, I would like to communicate with you. And the best way to do that is by question and answer. So, would anyone like to start us off this morning with any question that you would like to ask? Do not worry if it's a small question or a large question. There's no small questions and there are no large questions, because every question that affects us in daily living is an important question. It could range from how to bake potatoes to how to find God. They're all important. Okay, so would someone start me off in asking questions?
We've heard that by practicing more techniques, we will gradually come to know what is right and to want to do what is right. While we're on our way, can you give us some guidance on how to make decisions about positive consciousness before we reach that state where
How you could make?
while we're on our way to reaching that state where we will always know. Can you give us some guidance about what we can do?
Good, very beautiful. Now, the basis of the question is this, that I am doing a practice, and by doing the practice, how will I progress? What are the mechanics of the progression? And in the mechanics of the progression, what are the signposts that I will find doing my practices, and how it will benefit me, etc. Is that the gist of your question?
Yes, I'd also like to know what one does in a situation where you really don't know what to do.
In a situation when you don't know what to do. Now, in a situation when you don't know what to do, then you do nothing. Nevertheless, the main qualification for any person that want to embark on a spiritual practice is yearning. He must yearn to find something that is within himself which he does not know about. Fine. And some people have the yearning to find the question of things he does not know about, and some people do nothing. That's what I meant. Fine. So we do start off in doing spiritual practice is to find certain answers. The main answer which many persons would like to ask is, who am I? Why am I born into this world? What is the purpose of my environment? How do I relate with my environment? And in the relationship of the environment, am I evolving to greater and greater happiness? Now, the main purpose of life, consciously or unconsciously, is to find happiness. Why do we want to find happiness? Because the nature of man is blissful. Ananda resides within him. Man is essentially divine. And because of the essential divinity that is within man, that is what spurs him on to find himself, to find the divinity that is within him, and that constitutes the mechanics of the path of finding happiness. So, to recap, man consciously or unconsciously searches for happiness. A man makes £1 million and he thinks he will find happiness in doing that. But when he makes £1 million, he is still not happy, so he tries for the second million. And when he has the second million, he will try to find the third. But is that the path to find happiness, to find that peace, that is there within us? So we are trying to find externally that which is internal. We are using the wrong direction. So by spiritual practices that are given and individually designed in our foundation, the International Foundation for Spiritual Unfoldment, the individual practices that are designed are aimed at the sum totality of that particular person. His vibration, which a guru can hear in his meditative state, his vibration is taken and based upon the vibration, an assessment and evaluation is made whereby the sum totality of the person is assessed and thereupon a practice is prescribed. So it becomes an individual practice. We have avoided mass practices because there cannot be one medicine that could cure everything. You might need a different medicine for a headache than what you would need for a toothache. So, with our foundation, all practices are individually designed. Now, these practices, individually designed, are aimed at unfathoming that which is within us. And that is the purpose of the foundation, in order so that man could reach his primal state of bliss. Man is essentially divine. When man repeats to himself that I am a sinner, I am weak, keep on repeating the weakness to yourself and you become weak. The message which I bring to you is this, that you are divine. That divinity is just covered up, crowded up, and what we have to do is unfold it. We do not call the foundation spiritual development. The spirit does not require developing. It is fully developed within you and me. But covered up, we have to unfold it. And for the unfoldment, we give our practices, and our meditators find that in doing these practices, a greater harmony comes within themselves. They do feel a greater self-integration. Man has three aspects to himself. He has the physical body, he has the mental body, and the spiritual body. And all troubles begin when the three aspects of man do not function harmoniously. So, with spiritual practices, we find and we function as harmoniously with more and more and more harmony. And we become more and more harmonious. And as we become more harmonious to ourselves, we create a greater harmony in the environment. Now the flower, it is the nature of the flower to grow beautiful. Yes, it grows beautiful, but it does something else as well. It enhances the beauty of the garden also. So the flower that grows beautiful in itself also enhances the beauty of the garden. So when an individual becomes more harmonious to himself and more self-integrated, then his environment too improves, and that is the purpose of meditation. The purpose of meditation is to live as a self-integrated being. And being self-integrated, one can perform daily actions with a greater dynamism, with a greater vitality. And having become harmonious, we automatically become loving. And when we become loving, we become lovable. If people ask, why don't others love me? If he asks that question, do not let him ask the question outside, that why don't people love me? It is because he is not lovable. So he starts off with loving, now creating this beautiful harmony within himself, that through meditation, when the mental awareness expands, and at the same time, simultaneously, the heart too expands, and with the combination of the mind and heart, with a beautiful expansion, with a beautiful wholeness, and gradually as we achieve that wholeness, our attitude towards life changes, where we can start loving, and then we will know the meaning of the commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself. Then we will know the true import. Now, if we use that message, love thy neighbor as thyself, mentally, we might just appreciate some of its meaning. But to appreciate the meaning intellectually supported by the experiential value, then how much more powerful can that not become? Then we will really know. Then we will really know what loving thy neighbor as thyself could really mean. It is a great difference between knowing something only by the intellect and experiencing something. So these qualities of love, which are gained through meditation, can be experienced, and not only experienced but translated and interpreted in daily living. All philosophies in this world is of no use if it remains only on the mind level. Then it is mental gymnastics. They must be brought down to practical day-to-day living. And our meditations are designed, individually designed, tailor-made for each and individual person, so that he could do his practices twice a day, half an hour morning and evening, and he showed methods how he can interpret them in day-to-day living, and thereby making his life richer in every aspect of his being. So that greater harmony is found in the home, greater harmony is found in work, greater harmony is found in his social circles, greater harmony is in society, and it is society and various units of social bodies that form a country. And then England again can shine to its primal glory. The empire builder can also start off to be the spiritual empire builder. Yes. We have started this movement. We are in many countries at the moment that England has become one of the main centers, because I do know the potentiality, the bulldog tenacity of the English people. Yes, if they make up their minds, they can perform wonders. If they could have been the greatest sea power, if they could have built the greatest empire in the history of mankind, they can also build the greatest spiritual empire. And there are certain points in your land, in England, that are very highly empowered spiritual points. There is a great vibration here in this country. As soon as I put my foot in England yesterday, I could feel it. I could feel the vibration. And this vibration will overcome all the permissiveness and all the wrongdoings that are happening. But we have to start somewhere. Where do we start? We start with ourselves. And how do we start with ourselves? Is to find methods that can improve ourselves, and the easiest and the finest and the best and the sublimest and the loveliest, the beautifulest method is meditation. Yes. With the meditational practices, our attitudes towards life change. I always like this one stanza, two men behind prison bars, one saw mud, the other saw stars. They're both in the same circumstances. One could see the gloom, the other sees the Lord's glory. Why? Aspect of thought, attitude, perspective. And these perspectives are changed by our meditational practices. They have to change. They do change because we operate as a total being. Human beings operate today not in totality. They don't. You see this every day where a person thinks one thing, does another thing, and speaks another thing. They pull in different directions. So where can the progress be? But if they operate in totality, how beautiful it will be. People can't even make love in totalness. That is the present state of our society. They cannot communicate with their wives or their husbands in complete totality, where their minds, bodies, and spirits flow as one unity. And even in that form of love-making, when they can flow together in one unity, that too can become a meditation. Because there's a smooth, there's a flow, there's a divinity that shines. There's self-luminosity. It is not borrowed light. And therefore it becomes eternal, immortal, beautiful, sublime, divine. Any amount of labels you can put on, it becomes goodly and it becomes godly. Because for what is life? Life, remember 3 L's. Life, love and laughter. And if we have these things in our lives, to live life with love and laughter, then where are troubles? There are no such thing as troubles. There are no problems. Because every problem has inherent within itself a solution. And once we can function as a totality, as an integrated person, then automatically the problem comes up, the solution is found. It is inherent in there. Right. So, in doing the meditations, there are milestones that will show you, am I progressing in my meditation? And if you are unable to recognize the progress in your meditation, then our counselors here in England, we have approximately 21 sub-centers here now, and any of those counselors could advise and tell you, if you want to reach Birmingham, in between you'd find the various towns, and you'll find the milestones, 100 miles, 50 miles, 25 miles, and as you come across this milestone, it encourages you, oh, I'm reaching Birmingham, it's nearer now. Self-integration is nearer. And these things are milestones and very encouraging, and if you don't understand them, they can be interpreted for you by very, very qualified counselors that we have here that are highly trained in all aspects of life. Good. Right. Thank you. Anyone else? That's a lovely question. Yes, please. I do find a bit of trouble with the accent, so slowly.
I've got 2 questions. One is that I only heard about you last week.
You only heard about me last week. Is that something to question?
Because I only heard about you last week, I'm really interested if you don't mind me asking, in you, what brings you here, brought you to this point of being this
Beautiful, beautiful. So in other words, you have a personal interest in me. Well, I could tell you, you can have a personal interest in me, but I'm a renunciate and a celibate. Good love. I said, life, love and laughter. Huh? We must have some fun and not be serious all the time. Next one. What brought me to this point of life? Fine, you want to know something about me. Well, I'll be glad to tell you. Take a seat, lady. Good. You want to know about me, what brought me to the stage of life. In other words, a little biographical sketch. Is that what it is? You know, when you become a renunciate, you don't like to talk of what is past. You like to talk of what is present. Because most people in this world, they live never in the present, the here and now. They either live in all the yesterdays or all the tomorrows, but never for today. And yet we all know that if we live today well, tomorrow will look after itself. We all know that. Meanwhile, you do find incidences where a woman heard that the world was coming to an end in 2 million years' time, and so she committed suicide. Yes, all the worries of people is not about what is happening today. You are sitting here today. Fine. And most of you are absorbed in what I'm saying. We're having a few laughs and a few words of wisdom, and you'd find that interesting. And yet there are some here, I could see their faces, that are worrying about what's going to happen this evening at the pub. Yeah. We are so trained because of our past experiences in life, the environment we have lived in, the upbringing, the schools, the parents, and plus something called sanskaras. That is, of course, if you believe in past lives, then know that this is the sum total of what we have been or are, and it is all these things that have conditioned our minds. Now, the mind is such a cunning animal. Terrible! So it's the most cunning animal. The mind can find for you pros and cons for everything. Yes, and the mind can justify anything. I'm sure even a murderer, when he kills someone, he feels justified in some way why he should have killed. Perhaps later, when it comes to a realization, he might feel remorseful, but that happens after he gets electrocuted. Yes, that is a process that he can feel remorseful after he has passed away, which is too late. Nevertheless, the point is this, that the cunning mind can always find justifications for one's behavior and forgetting what is today and always wondering about yesterday or tomorrow. Now, that is what generally happens. But when it comes to a yogi who has renounced the world, he does not like to think of his past, what he has done. To him it is today. He is sitting here and he is communicating. What is he communicating? Not only some words that flows from his heart, but also the essence that flows from his heart. Because for a yogi, his nature is joy. And what he does, he wants to share the joy. That is the purpose of his life. But nevertheless, not to disappoint this young lady, I was born in a well-to-do business family, and from childhood I always wanted to become a monk. Nevertheless, I roamed around as a child trying to find what is really me, or God, or whatever you want to call it. And very early in life ran away from home and got brought back to home, and was forced to go to university to study commerce of all things. And not only that, my parents got me married, and had some children. But before that, I went to the monasteries, and my guru told me, I said, look, I want to become a monk and dedicate my life to this way of life, because that is what I am cut out for, or to be. My guru says, no, you go back to the world, go back down there to the plains, and learn, experience what householding is. Get married, raise a family, and know what householding is, because you are destined not to teach monks, you are going to teach the householder, the man in the street, the family man. So when there are certain problems that come up, you would be able to relate to them, you'd be able to understand their problems, because you have experienced those problems. And so coming into the world, went into business and raised a family and gained a lot of experience, and then when I felt that I was ready, I renounced all that. And of course I saw that the wife and kids are well looked after. What is the sense? What is the sense? We are responsible human beings. Right. What's the sense of having a wife and kids, and then you go and teach about God while they are going hungry? That's wrong. So what you provide for them first, and then they are comfortable. Right? And then I took my leave in renunciation, and this is what I'm doing. And that's why I'm here, to teach a message that is not contrary to any religion whatsoever. What we study together and what we teach is the essence behind all religions. Because as you would know, that all religions are like rivers coming from different directions and ultimately becoming one in the same ocean. And that happens. And what we feel that through these scientific, yogic, meditational practices, if you are a Buddhist, you become a better Buddhist. If you are a Christian, you become a better Christian. So we are non-dogmatic. We don't flow in just a certain channel. We try and discover, we try and find the essence behind all religions, behind all theologies. And in knowing the essence of things, we do become better human beings, and by becoming better human beings, we could become better Christians and better Buddhists and better Hindus and better what have you. Okay. Fine.
Thank you. You talk about the way you teach meditation, I'm very good joy, and we are very good as well. In my life, there comes a point very so often where I feel lonely, and I tell myself that I'm partially connected consciousness. I have no proof that everybody's my brother and sister, but sometimes God feels lonely and alone. Can you clarify my feeling, how I feel about the collective consciousness that we are watching, we are together?
True. Well, many people, when they feel lonely, they join the Lonely Hearts Club. Nevertheless, the greatest Lonely Hearts Club resides within a person. Right. Now, it is by knowing the essence of our being that one ceases to become lonely. One ceases to become lonely knowing the essence of our being, because the essence that resides within us, the extent of the essence within us is as vast as the universe. So if man, this is philosophically speaking, which can be experienced, If man can experience the essence of the entire universe within himself, then where can you stand apart to be lonely? So, the basis and the purpose of meditational practices is, one of them is that by getting the self-integration, one begins to experience being or the essence within oneself. Now, by experiencing the essence and the being that is within oneself, a greater and greater fulfillment comes about. And when there is fulfillment within oneself, one does not feel lonely. So the purpose behind, the reason behind feeling alone, or the purpose of loneliness would be unfulfillment. We only seek another to find fulfillment. Right. Now, this in very mundane terms, and when it comes to relationships between people and people, this could be very, very necessary. That one can find fulfillment with another. A man can love a woman very much and find fulfillment in her. Right. Or a woman can love a man very much and find fulfillment in him. Now, what are the mechanics of finding that fulfillment? I was discussing this with someone last night, that in every man there is a small percentage of him which is woman. And in every woman there is a small percentage within her which is man. So, in finding in man and women, finding fulfillment in each other, they are complementing certain qualities that are lacking in them. This comes about because of a need. Now, the man is the aggressor, the winner, the protector, the hunter, the provider. The woman has natural qualities in her which has that beautiful patience, the tolerance. She's equipped for childbearing that requires an infinite amount of patience. I mean, mothers would know this, what a job it is to bring up a child. The tolerance, the caring the mother has. Now, all these qualities could complement the man's life, so that when man and woman get married, they no longer walk on 4 legs. To them it becomes a 3-legged run. They become a 3-legged run. And it is only by running through life 3-leggedly could that marriage be successful. And could the loneliness you spoke about disappear. So, in normal terms, in the normal way of life and in normal living, these things are necessary. But it is not the only way. It is a necessary way, but not the only way. There is the other way, whereby one can find the being within oneself and does not need to find the being externally. In the case of the householder, the husband sought. Why does a man love his wife? The man loves his wife because not of her body, not of her face, or her beautiful figure or blue eyes. No, it is because of some essence that is within her. And the wife loves her husband in the same way because of some essence within him. So, the search starts externally, and from the external search, the internal reality is found. And when the internal reality is found, then one finds fulfillment and all loneliness ceases. Then company is not necessary. A housewife goes to a supermarket. She draws up a list of the things she wants to buy. But after she has bought everything, she can throw the list away. The list then is not necessary. So, a person goes to a guru. Right. the guru is external. But the job of the guru is to wake up the internal guru. So once the internal guru has become awake within yourself, the external guru becomes a dream, you don't need him. Likewise, everything happens in life. When a person finds the fulfillment within oneself, then everything external does not become necessary. Yet, when it comes to husband and wife, the wife might not be necessary for the fulfillment anymore, and 99.99999% of people are not fulfilled, so they will still be needing their wives and their husbands. But to that fractional percentage that does not need that will still remain a fully responsible person. And he will look after, or he has provided for his wife and children, so he could do the work he is meant to do. Okay, good, fine. Anyone else? Please, do not hesitate to ask anything you want to. People involved in spiritual...
to believe oneself that God is constant and actually is, and to exaggerate that is okay. We follow on this, and on whether this closure is easier, whether we easier exactly, we slow down that further growth.
So the English accent gets me a bit. It's never too clear to me. Could you please repeat his question for me? Or even read it. I believe a person in Yorkshire does not understand the English of a person in Eastbourne. Is that true? And I come from 6,000 miles away.
The question was being asked is, there seems to be a tendency in spiritual movements, while we see this in many different movements in the world today, for people to become very enthusiastic about the potential for growth contained within the movement, the technique, the meditation, whatever it is that they're doing.
Beautiful.
And as a result, people become highly enthusiastic about this. Now, the enthusiasm sometimes generates a state of consciousness in which people hide from themselves the fact that, in fact, no real progress is being made. So there's a kind of movement that overlays the actual state of affairs, which doesn't involve a great deal of growth, and people incent them to themselves into believing that they have grown. And this is an excellent question. I think many people must wonder about this and have this on their mind.
Oh, thank you. That's a very, very lovely question. Now, what happens is this, that firstly, very, very many movements go about making very large promises. Right. And it is these promises that create enthusiasm in people. Right. If someone tells you that by meditating 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, you will have altered states of consciousness, or you will experience cosmic consciousness or various other kinds of consciousnesses just by doing this. So you think, now this is so easy. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, and this man is going to become a Superman. Yes. So many people are, because of high-powered advertising, many people are given these ideas, whereby a certain amount of enthusiasm is created in them. But when they do these practices given by certain movements, and when they find that the promises have not been fulfilled, then they become very, very despondent. Because firstly, there could be many products in this world, commercial products, for example, that could be so well advertised that certain kind of poisons in certain beverages are found to be sold in the Sahara Desert. which are thirst quenching, they say. In likewise, many movements exploit through the power of the advertising media, they promise. Our movement promises nothing. We do not promise you self-enlightenment overnight. There's no instant coffee and instant pudding in self-enlightenment. Everybody wants things instantly. But do we ever ask ourselves that before we demand, do we deserve? Now, to become deserving, the process can be expedited. The process can be expedited by certain observances. What is the sense of a person, say, he is an alcoholic and he does meditation 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, but he keeps on bringing the bottle nearer and nearer to him. Right. All the meditation in the world is not going to help him, unless in his waking state he is going to make some effort of pushing that bottle a bit further and further away. Right. Now the meditation will give him strength. The meditation will give him strength to push that bottle away. But he too in his waking life has to do something consciously. These scriptures throughout the world have not been wrong in giving us commandments, thou shalt and thou shalt not. They were not wrong, they were inspired words. The Sermon on the Mount was not wrong. Every word is based on the truth. And today, modern so-called gurus come and give you big promises that promise you the moon for a sixpence. 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, and your whole lifestyle is changed. It could never be changed if in our waking lives we don't exert certain conscious effort. And that is why some people get deluded into a false euphoria, into a false enthusiasm. But if a proper understanding is given, that with my meditations, I take a vow, I make a promise that I will try and improve the quality of my life. And in our initiation, a promise like that is made. And then you see how the person flowers up. I see this in hundreds and thousands of our people that are meditating and that are initiated throughout this world. How beautiful they grow. And as they grow, everything just falls in line. Because now they are floating with the current of the river and not against the current. And therefore, everything in life becomes so smooth and beautiful. This is my first venture outside the country. I have invitations to go to Australia, Rhodesia, and all those places. But I thought to myself, I want to see the British people first. Because they have that quality, they have that understanding, they have that tenacity where they could pursue, they could have perseverance in doing a thing, appreciating it. London, England, is at the crossroads of all cultures of the world. Years by, all roads led to Rome. Today all roads lead to London. Yes. And the progress I have seen since the British Meditation Society has been established, this past 6 months, I think. Yes, it's phenomenal that within 6 months, 21 meditation centers are established. And there are hundreds of people that have started meditating. And hundreds of people are finding such beautiful joy, such beautiful expansion. But we do say that it just does not come like that. Effortless meditation and a little effort in conscious living, that is required. And there is a divine power that helps you. There is a divine power that helps your conscious effort and your meditations, so that life becomes more happier and more sublime. more enjoyable. We teach that the path to joy must also be enjoyable. That the path, the goal of joy, the path too must be enjoyable towards joy. And then we sit back and just enjoy the joy. We do that. So simple. Life is really so simple. It is so simple to be happy, but so difficult to be simple.
I'm a committed Christian and have been for 30 years. Now, I think you've answered this first question that I thought of, would it help me to be a better one? Obviously it would, but now I've thought of something else. In meditation, which I try to do, sometimes it's wonderful, sometimes it's terribly flat. Will it be the same if I try your way?
Yes, very good. Now you are not doing our kind of meditation,
No.
That's fine.
I haven't, I don't belong, but I want to.
Just sit down, we'll go into those details. The lady has been trying her meditations in her own way, which it's apparent that has not been passed on by a guru to her. She might have found this in various kinds of books and done them accordingly. Am I right? Good. You have found your methods of meditation in books. Books and people, yes. But it was not given to you by an expert guru. Yeah, naturally, yes. So the answer is apparent. Sometimes they are good and sometimes they are not so good because they were found from books. They were found from books. Now, there are methods of meditation. Today you can go to a bookstore and buy 1,000 books on meditation. And you might find one form of meditation very attractive to you. Right? Your mind, as we said, the cunning mind, that could find a pro and con for everything, will tell you that this meditation is nice, it's so easy, I can even do it while I'm busy eating. Yeah, it's easy. And people's minds naturally try and pick out the easiest for themselves. Or otherwise, they try and pick out the most difficult for themselves because they like to be challenged. That is the human mind. Either the easiest or the most difficult, because one comes from laziness, the easiest, the other comes from ego, the most difficult. But is that the proper meditation chosen by the person? Now, if we write a letter to a pharmaceutical firm and ask for the list of medicines, then any child can memorize that whole list of medicines. But it's only the doctor that knows which medicine to give to who and for what purpose. So therefore, meditational practices should always be a highly personal and individualized thing. There are many mass movements that would cater for, that gives out practices, a cure-all for everything. I don't know if you remember the olden time cowboy films, where in this village, this one-horse town, this wagon comes in, Dr. something, and he brings out a box of medicines, one box of medicines, which he sells for everyone. A person that is bored and wants to grow hair, same medicine. Person that has a stomach ache, same medicine. Now, many movements in commercializing and reaching the vastest amount of people, they had to devise a mass distribution system or a cure-all. Now, in spiritual progression, in spiritual unfoldment, this unfortunately, or fortunately rather, does not apply. Every person is a unique person. You will find that even identical twins are not alike. They differ in some characteristic. So each person, being a unique individual person, his meditation has to be individually designed. Now the lady asked the question that sometimes I practice my own form of meditation, sometimes I feel nice, other times nothing happens. Right. That could be due to, we would not say it is so in her case. I would have to go into meditation with her to know what the true thing is. But it could happen, as it does happen, in 90% of the time, that the technique might not be right for the person. So, if we go to the Guru who knows through not his five senses, but through utilizing other senses, the ability of which he has acquired to utilize. He utilizes those senses beyond the five senses and thereby perceive what is required for that person. And then a particular technique out of thousands of techniques is prescribed to that person. Then that person will receive the maximum benefit. Now, by receiving the maximum benefit also depends upon how the recipient does his or her technique, if it's properly done or not. So therefore, the counselors normally ask them to come back to have the meditations checked, and if there are any errors made, they are guided and helped and counseled. And it is only through this procedure, it is easy, and yet there is some little effort required. We consciously have to make some effort to get our meditations checked to see if we are doing it right or we're not doing it right, and the communication takes place, which is so beautiful. So in your case, I would advise you to be initiated through our British Meditation Society. If you have a keen desire to find that divinity within yourself, if you do have the keen desire, and do approach one of the counselors who will advise you on it, and practice the practice given to you, which would be individually for you, and then see how beautiful you will benefit. May all joy be yours. Blessings. Next.
Guru Raj, with reference to what you were saying a moment ago, is this meditation movement suitable for people who realize that they do have problems, but who don't have a yearning for specifically spiritual growth, who don't want to hear about things like God and so forth, and also who don't want to enter into a relationship with a guru, and who therefore cut themselves off from Guru Shakti by doing that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are lots of people in that category.
Now, what are the points? I'm still a bit with the accent. That's my problem.
Sorry, I come from Oxford, actually.
I didn't get that.
I come from Oxford.
Oh, you're from Oxford.
Yeah. Okay.
I come from a town where we just had some riots, so the Oxford accent is gone there. Yeah, just give me the points of it, yeah. You said something about cutting off from Guru Shakti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 points. He was concerned about people who might be attracted to start the meditation practices, but these might be people who were not specifically looking for what you might call spiritual development. That is, they might have mental or emotional problems, or in some way they want to improve themselves psychologically, but they're not specifically looking for spiritual growth, or perhaps even trying to avoid terms like that, maybe because in their youth they've been disappointed by religion and gave it up or something.
I get that one, yes.
That's one point. The second point was people, for instance, who may want to start practices but don't want to enter into the Master Chela, the Guru student,
and would the Guru Shakti be cut off?
Right, and therefore cut themselves off from the Guru Shakti.
Right. Now, if a person denies the existence of a higher power within themselves, they might not want to put on the label of God onto them. They can say a energy, a force, a divinity, whatever. These are labels. And if a person does not accept that, then his meditations might not be as successful as they should be. Fine. Now, the acceptance of a divine power, although intellectually it cannot be verified, but experientially it can be verified. A plant grows in the garden. The ground is right. The minerals in the ground is right. The sun gives the right heat. The water is right. The rain is right. All the physical conditions, all the minerals are right. All the conditions that are necessary for the plant to grow are there. But what factor was there in bringing about just the right amount of combinations to make that flower grow? Because we know if there was too much fertilizer, the flower could have died, the plant could have died. So this infers that there is another self within us, a higher self, some form of energy. You don't need to call it God. Right? Now, some people and some movements rather, the people have an inherent desire to live an integrated life. But there are movements in this world that try and divorce spirituality from all meditational practices, which is wrong. Today, what interests a person the least is spirituality. What interests the person the most is materiality. So to sell your movement, to sell your techniques, they shy away from the word God and spirituality and all these things and base everything on materiality. Now, if you are of sick mind, if you have emotional problems, do not go to a guru. Go to a psychiatrist. But when you are prepared to accept that my emotional problems and my physical problems have a basis upon a third aspect of myself, upon a third aspect of the spirit that is residing within myself, and if you accept that, if you accept the three aspects of yourself, the spiritual, the physical, and the mental, then only go to a guru. Then only will you have the earnestness. But if you want to go to a guru just for your physical problems or your psychological problems, the guru's heart is open and compassionate. He does not deny you. And slowly will bring you to the understanding that by this spiritual process, by this scientific technique, you are drawing upon that infinite reservoir of spiritual energy, and you are infusing it in your mind and in your body and creating a balance whereby your physical and emotional problems will disappear. So a good guru will not even tell you if he sees a sincerity in you about the spiritual side of life. He says, oh, this is your problem. Fine. This is your problem. You are a homosexual. Or you have this problem or that problem. And I can see what is your problem. And I shall not even tell you about the spiritual self, but I shall give you a practice whereby the spiritual self is invoked and a greater balance is created in your life, and where your problem will disappear. That a guru does because of love and compassion. But it does make the work of the guru easier. It does make the work of the guru easier if there is an acceptance of some power that is beyond us. It makes the work of the guru easier. Now, if the chela does not believe in the guru, then does he cut himself off from Guru Shakti? Do not believe in the guru, but believe in Guru Shakti. Huh? Okay. Because this guru sitting here in front of you, I was telling them this morning, is worth 1 shilling and 4p chemically. And perhaps with inflation, it could be 2 shillings 8p. Beautiful. Yes, yes. Do not believe in the Guru, but believe in Guru Shakti, which is a divine power. Believe in that divine power. So, when you approach the Guru, right, with first the acceptance that there is something beyond us, then that will make it easier for the Guru, and it will make it easier for you too to understand Guru Shakti. Discard the Guru. Discard the Guru. But you cannot discard that divine force. That divine force. And the Guru, the teacher, has the ability to show you how to use the divine force. How to prepare yourself, how to make yourself receptible for that divine force. And then it descends. Then it descends. And that Guru Shakti is synonymous with the law of grace. The grace is there. And why the Shakti energy is there, why the prefix of Guru is added on, is because the Guru has the ability, the inborn ability, the acquired ability to draw on universal forces and specifically direct it to the person sitting over there. So it could help him. Okay. Smile. Beautiful. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Good. Next. I think it's just about livening up now. Let's have more nice questions. Yes, yes, warming up.
I have 3 questions, Guru Raj. Which are 3?
Have a heart. How about one by one?
One by one, okay. First one I've been asked to ask you. What are your views on the possibility of getting in touch with somebody who's died through mediums?
Right. The others, are the others related to that?
No.
Or are they different?
Shall I tell you the others two?
Yeah. Okay.
The other one is, what are your views on the Buddhist meditation of mindfulness? And the third one is, when the content of everything is divine and perfect, how does imperfection and suffering and exploitation come out of this?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to start writing 15 volumes, starting now. Those questions require 5 volumes each. Oh yes, they're very beautiful questions. I understood your accent very well. Are you British? No, this is confusing to me. That you find so many English people, but at different places they have a different way of speaking. And someone said to me, I heard it said, "Put the wooden fall." Put the wooden fall. I believe it means close the door. Yeah, it's surprising. Anyways, I must get used to that. I've got 25 days for it, huh? Okay. Right. The question there, the first one was that should one use mediums to get in touch with people on the other side? Now that's quite a spooky question. Why, firstly, the question should remain that are there people on the other side? Second question, why should we get in touch with them? Third question, is the medium qualified enough or not? 3 questions there in your one question. Right. There are the human body, the physical body has a counterpart which is the subtle or etheric body. That counterpart in Sanskrit is called Sukshma Sharira. The physical body is Sthula Sharira. In Sanskrit the other body is called Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira exists, we can call it etheric body, exists after it has discarded the physical body. And the etheric body exists for many purposes, for the formulation, for the preparation of being reincarnated again, that is, if you believe in reincarnation. But nevertheless, there is the existence of the etheric body which could be there for a certain time. This goes into other questions. Right, let us not digress. Now, a person wants to get in touch with Auntie Matilda that has passed away. Why does Joe want to get in touch with Auntie Matilda who has passed away? It is because of Joe's intense attachment to her. Right. Joe's intense attachment to Auntie Matilda could be for many reasons. And one of the reasons is not necessarily to know how Auntie Matilda is faring there. Waltzing Matilda could have been still waltzing there. She might still be waltzing and having a good old time. No? Right. But it is because of the basic insecurity of Joe that he wants to be in touch with Auntie Matilda. Right. He wants to elicit some information for himself because of his insecurity. And he has not acquired the ability to get in touch with Auntie Matilda, so he goes to someone in the middle, which is the medium. Now, I have seen mediums and mediums and mediums, and most of the mediums I have seen are very, very insecure people themselves, who are so troubled with their nervous systems, their physiological systems, their biological systems, and through their mind, their whole bodies suffer more psychosomatic diseases than perhaps could be put together in Guy's Hospital. That's one of your hospitals, huh? Right. So now here, look at the process. Insecure Joe goes to insecure medium to find about insecure Matilda. Now where is the sense? Didn't I say earlier that the most scarce commodity is common sense? Insecure Joe goes to an insecure medium to find about insecure Matilda. Right. Now, how does the medium work? Now the medium can work in many ways. I could teach you within 2 months how to read a person's thoughts. Very easy. It is an elementary siddhi. Very easily done. Anyone can learn it in 2 months if they have the yearning and if they are sincere enough. They can learn that. Now, the medium has acquired the ability that while you are sitting in the chair and thinking about Auntie Matilda, right, the medium picks up your thoughts and tells you that, oh, Auntie Matilda is keeping very well and sends her regards. You get astounded that, what a medium. She has made contact on the other side. Meanwhile, what she has really done is only read your mind, and when you leave 10 pounds in the plate. Yeah. Another business. This world is based nothing upon business. Everyone wants to make, like the Americans say, a fast buck. Yes. Yeah. And they're quite fast at it too. I said, I promise you this, life, love and laughter. We must go together. Yes. So, those are how mediums work. Now, let us get back to Matilda. Let us assume that you believe in reincarnation. After a person passes away from this body and is living there in that etheric body, it is so busy. It is so busy there. Firstly, that etheric, that subtle body has to weigh up the complete life it has lived on this earth, the complete, all its actions. It has to weigh the pros and cons. It has to formulate. It has to sift out and boil down all the happenings of that life into a single formula. 2 and 2 makes 4, 4 and 4 makes 8, 8 and 8 is 16, 16, 16, 32. Right. Now, it has to arrive at 32 through all the processes of addition, subtractions and multiplication. In other words, in that state, Auntie Matilda is analyzing its entire life that it has lived in relationship to all the lives it had lived before the past life. So that when it reincarnates again, it will come forth as the sum totality of all the lives lived, including the one that has just preceded. So Auntie Matilda is busy reviewing, formulating, and finding ways and means to be born again. Now, the biggest job it has there is to find the right parents. Now we think, yes, to find the right parents. Now we think that we choose our children, but our children has chosen us. Yes. Our children has chosen us. The incarnating soul is waiting for the right combination of genes and chromosomes. And these various combinations must just be the right medium so that Joe can be born. Right. So Auntie Matilda there, or Auntie Matilda can be born. So Auntie Matilda there is so busy, it has no time to come through a medium to say hello to Joe. Yeah. These are false vagaries. These are false teachings. And if, for example, one can be in touch with a spirit, with a disembodied spirit, why be in touch with a disembodied lower spirit when one can be in touch with the divine spirit? Why double in spookism? What purpose can it serve? A disembodied spirit is a spirit that has not found rest. That spirit is in so much turmoil and turbulence. Are you going to get the guidance, mental guidance, from a psychiatrist who requires a psychiatrist himself? Huh? No. If you want guidance, you go to a sane person, a balanced person. Now, a disembodied spirit is not a balanced spirit. It's an unstable spirit. And why use such a spirit as a guide when the greatest guide of all, divinity itself, can be your guide? Why take the guidance of a dead spirit when the living spirits are alive that can guide man to a betterment of humanity? To a betterment of himself and of humanity. Fine. That was one question. What was the second part? About Buddhism.
What are your views? Yes, Buddhist meditation of mindfulness.
Buddhist meditation of
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. It's a very good meditation. Now, all these meditations are very good, right? We do not condemn anyone. We do not condone anyone. If you take up Buddhist medicines, you have Buddhist meditations, you have leanings towards those teachings, Buddhistic teachings, and by all means do follow them. But I would say one thing, do have an open mind. Have an open mind. The way of trial and error is there whereby one could find a solution. If you want to go to Birmingham, right, you might take a road that has a lot of traffic, a lot of robots in it. Fine. It'll cause you delays. It'll make you feel irritable, having to stop and start, and the roads are bumpy and the roads are not nice. You can take that road, or you can take the highway. I don't know the names of your roads, so just motorway. You can take the motorway that takes you directly to Birmingham. Right. So the choice is yours. Man has free will, he must choose himself. Now you mentioned Buddhist meditation of mindfulness, so naturally you must have studied it a bit, and you studied it because you had some inclination for it, some attraction towards it, and if you are doing it, and if you find it beneficial to you, by all means do pursue. But at the same time, always have an open mind. And it is only the open mind that blossoms like an open flower. The bud itself, although so beautiful, it can be worth more if it opens. Yes. Okay, third question.
When the content of everything is divine and perfect, how does the imperfections and sufferings and exploitation come into the world in the first place?
That is beautiful. That is a question. If the Creator is perfect, why has, to put it in a nutshell, if the Creator is perfect, why has He created imperfection? Right. If the Creator is that of joy, love, then why is there suffering? This has been the greatest question that has puzzled all philosophers throughout this world. Now, from the level of the Creator, there is no suffering. From the level of the Creator, there is only joy. From the level of the Absolute, only joy abounds. But from the level of the relative, there is the suffering. From our viewpoint, we see suffering. But from divine viewpoint, there is no suffering. If we stand at the ocean, we find the waves very turbulent. Fine. But if we go up into the sky, a mile up, that same ocean will seem calm. So, it depends. Suffering or no suffering depends upon where we stand. From the angle, from the value of the Absolute, there is no misery and no suffering. But from the angle and value of the relative, everything is a suffering and everything is a misery. So therefore, by the practices of our meditation, we learn to be in touch with the Absolute. We learn to live in the Absolute, and thereby we do not get affected by any kind of suffering in the world, because we have now acquired that strength. We can see any kind of suffering objectively. We can see the true worth of it. We can see the changeless amidst the change. And then we can truly say, for this too will pass away. Then we understand the meaning of that injunction. Right. Now that was the practical method. Right. What are the mechanics involved? What are the mechanics in how the Absolute, became the relative? Or did the Absolute really become the relative? What is the difference between the Absolute and the relative? And what are the mechanics of making the Absolute and the relative join hands? Now, can we make the Absolute and the relative join hands? No, because they are forever joining hands. If you can, man must never separate the Absolute from the relative. If you can picture yourself a vast sheet of, say, blue color. At the one end, it's a deep blue. At the other end, gradually it fades, until at the other end it becomes a very fine blue. So, that is the relationship. All existence in the universe is nothing but vibration. And when vibration becomes solidified, to use an analogy, as vapor becomes ice. Vapor is in the subtle form and ice is in the grosser form. So in that way, in this blue expanse of paint we talked about now, at the grossest level, we see the deep blue, that is the relative, that is the creation, while at the subtle level of the finer blue, you were not making a noise with the high heels. So in the expanse of the blue paint, at the gross level where the blue was deep, there the vibrations were compacted, like the solid ice. And at the subtler level, where the blue was so fine, there the vibrations existed at the subtle level like vapor. Fine. So, there is no differentiation between the relative and the absolute. They are the same. The absolute and relative is the same, but the difference lies in degree, the degree of intensity. Now, when it comes to suffering, now from the absolute point of view, when we through our meditational practices have contacted the absolute and we see that here in this flower there is the invisible sap, here in this glass there is that invisible power that keeps all the molecules of this glass together. When we can realize that by contacting the absolute through our meditational practices, then we would cease to see the suffering. Suffering would not then exist. But that is only when we reach the absolute. But until we are in the relative, suffering is there for us. If I stub my toe, it is going to hurt. I cannot deny it. My toe hurts. Right. Good. What are the mechanics there? Now, if God or divinity, people don't like the word God. I don't know why. It's such a beautiful word. And if you spell God the other way around, dog, there's God even in dog, never mind in man. And yet man does not want to appreciate him. I don't know. Nevertheless, from the absolute there's no suffering. So now, if divinity is perfection itself, how can the perfect create that which is imperfect? That has been the problem of philosophers. If you do not agree with creation, now who creates? Who creates? An artist creates a poem. Why? It wants to express itself. A musician composes a piece of music, a symphony. Why? Because it wants to express himself. Right? An artist does a painting. Why? Because he wants to express himself. Now, who requires expression? It is only the imperfect that requires expression to perfect himself. Because by the means of expression, it wants to perfect himself. But in the case of divinity, we cannot say that divinity is imperfect, because if he was imperfect, then only would he require to perfect itself by creation, by expression. But if divinity is perfect, then it would not want to create, it does not want to express. So what happens here? That divinity does not create. We use the word for convenience sometimes in theology. Divinity does not create, divinity manifests. By that we mean that it is the nature of divinity to manifest. It is the nature of divinity to manifest as fire manifests heat. It is the nature of the fire to give off heat. The fire does not create heat. It is the nature of fire to give heat. And how can heat be separated from the fire? It is its nature. They are part and parcel of itself. If there was no heat, there would have not been fire. If there was no fire, then there would have not been heat. God exists because you exist, and you exist because God exists. One is an integral part and parcel of the other. The manifest and the manifester is but one. And we only find the differentiation when we view it from different angles. We can look at this expanse of blue color. When we see the blue color in its grossest form, the deep blue, we know that is the manifestation, the gross level. And when we see the same color in its subtle form, the light fine blue, then we know it is there in the subtle form as the manifester. Manifester and the manifest. Right. So, in this way, manifestation is there if you do not accept creation. But now, suffering, where that thing still rears its head, that why must the manifester who is pure bliss manifest something which is not bliss? The explanation to this can only be given in the form of an analogy. The sun shines. It is through the heat of the sun that the water turns into vapor and it's taken up to the sky in vapor form. The vapor gathers together and forms thick clouds. It is the very clouds that obscures the sun from shining through, and we see darkness downstairs. Do you see the combination and the mixture? So the concept of purity and impurity, the concept of joy and suffering is a concept of man and not the concept of the divine. It is the concept of the manifest, but not the concept of the manifester. As we have seen in the analogy, that it is the sun itself that draws the vapor and forms the cloud to obscure itself. Now, does this sun require obscuration? And who sees the sun to be obscured? Is those that are down here. We say there is suffering. We see the suffering. And yet, living a relative life, we feel the suffering. And we have the ways and means of alleviating the suffering. And the ways and means is to meditate